welcome back to our series of interviews with Euro's amazing members all over the world. It is a great pleasure to speak again with you, Tobias. Tobias Schoenborn is from visumPOINT for Mobility based in Germany. We've spoken several times since the start of the pandemic, and I think we spoke quite early on in the lockdown.
Sure.
So my first question, apart from it's great to see you, are you well?
Yes, definitely. It's a good time. It's still summer here, very warm. I'm enjoying the sun, so that's why it's a bit dark, because the sun is really shining into the office.
It looks fantastic. And just before you started recording, I mean, obviously I want to come on to how things are going in Germany, but you said you were actually in a beer garden.
Yes, I still need to use the chance to go to the beer garden and to enjoy the warm weather, but it's really strange because it's already dark so early. So it's not like the summer season when it's at 11 p.m. still a bit outside.
So tell me, I mean, I get how. First of all, how are things in Germany? Obviously, if the beer gardens are open, things are okay.
Yeah, we try to fight against the virus with alcohol.
I've been doing it for 5 months.
Just kidding. No, it's very good here. Like summer season ended, it's becoming busier and busier. You see a lot of people are back now from vacation. They are also tired of home office, so they start to go back in the office again, and it's becoming busier and busier. So it's kind of back to the roots, so back as usual. But I guess there is no as usual anymore after COVID-19.
It is extremely strange, and we're all sort of getting used to what on earth happens now. So let me come on to that in sections. First of all, how is work? Is work coming back to volumes that are near normal?
Not near normal, but we are getting close. It's as mentioned, also with work becoming busier and busier because more of HR, travel management people are back now. Also the implementation of new clients continue, and the workload shifted. That's a funny thing, but we are getting back to normal nearly. So hopefully end of the year, with at least posted worker immigration, we will be back to as we have been at the beginning of the year.
Well, I mean, that's fantastic to hear. And it's so interesting, talking as you talk to your colleagues all over the place as well, that, things are just so different from place to place. So in terms of how Germany is now functioning, are you open as normal, restaurants, beer gardens, all of that?
Yes, everything's open, normal. Of course, you need to wear a mask everywhere in Germany, especially in the shops. In some hotspot areas like Munich, they are also discussing now to wear it in public places.
Everywhere outdoors.
Yeah, but here in Bonn, where I live, or even in Berlin, it's just in shops where you need to wear a mask, and of course public transport if you are in a building, actually, not outside.
Okay, yeah, that's quite encouraging. And how are people responding? I mean, I presume you're still social distancing to the 1 meter?
Yes, it's still social distancing. We had an increase in numbers of COVID-19 patients now with the end of the summer season, when people actually returned from places outside of Germany. That's where they got most infections. But in Germany, it's good. What the politicians or the researchers found out is that actually, for example, like weddings or events where a lot of private people catch up, meet, that this is the hotspot of infections. But in public, everybody's cautious, careful. It's sometimes, I think, maybe too careful, because even when you want to not give it like a handshake, give like the fist, they are, oh, please, back up. But otherwise, everything's back on normal, and people are also getting used to do video calls more often and frequently.
And how is it with things like, I mean, is your team all back now in your office, or do you still have some people working from home?
We still have people on short work. More and more come back to the office. We start as also like a thing of equality to get them back like with 50%, for example, so that everybody's at least back working 50%, and then we will increase to 100%. So it's becoming busier and busier in the office. That's a good thing, and also people now they prefer to come back to the office because they are fed up with home office after 6 months and want the social aspect to be part in the life again.
We were just talking as a team on a Zoom call before we started to speak, and we were saying the same thing. It's like, I mean, we have closed our office, so for the foreseeable future,
yes, right,
working from home. But you miss that creativity, right? When the team is together, you talk more widely and more broadly.
Yeah, it's even the coffee break, when you're just in the kitchen having a coffee. That's usually the place where you have the best ideas and where ideas come up, the creativity, how you mentioned it. That's true. It's difficult to have this through like a webcam virtually. That's missing, definitely.
Yes, it is. It's a big thing, and obviously we're going to be talking about this for months in terms of how people are going to cope with it. But it's just, I mean, it's interesting to me that Germany, all the way through, there seems to have been, whenever we've spoken, a sense of we'll cope with this. We need to get back to normal. How is the sort of national mood? How are people feeling at the moment?
It's quite interesting because, like here, for example, in North Rhine-Westphalia, we had elections, like local elections, and the current governing party got a good reputation, so people kind of trust them that they are doing things right, and the leadership approach is proved. But that's what you heard before in a lot of like researches and interviews, that this will be the case. Like, for example, if there's a war, nobody will choose another party.
Yeah,
same thing. But the mood is good. People are cautious. Everybody's waiting for this so-called second wave with Corona, COVID-19. Now it was very warm recently. From tomorrow on, it will rain and will become cold. And so you don't know what happens, especially if you have children like myself. You don't know if they have a sniff. They need to stay home. And that's the question, how you can cover it with work and take care of the children. Quite interesting.
It's still, I mean, it's still affecting us all in that way, isn't it? I mean, but the schools are all back, yes?
Yes, schools are back and open, and what the government is doing, that's what I appreciate. They not try to shut down, like, for example, if there's one COVID-19 case in a school, to shut down the whole school, maybe only the class where the person was in. And that's the same, the approach with Corona hotspots, so they don't try to close like a whole country to make it like a risk country. So they mark only parts of the country as a risk region. For example, in the Netherlands, it's like North Holland or South Holland. It's like a risk region, but not the whole country.
That's a very sensible attitude, because I know here there's been quite a lot of criticism about our government. For example, they put the whole of Portugal on a quarantine list for people returning, and the Portuguese government was saying, but there's no cases in the Algarve, which is where people want to go.
Definitely.
Your system seems to be much more sensible.
That's even what happens now, not only in Europe, but also outside of Europe. And this is quite good for our industry, for global mobility, that they don't shut down the whole country. Like China is huge, for example. But if there's one little spot in China where 2 Corona cases are, doesn't make sense to shut down the whole country.
Exactly. It's very interesting. Again, I mean, I read an article this week where the researchers were saying in Britain it might be better to. Obviously, we have the closing down hotspots just like in Germany, but actually closing areas like where I live here and where you are in Bonn, where there are very, very few cases, and keeping these areas completely open. So it's a difficult balance, huh? Still.
It is very difficult. I always look like daily in the news if there's a new hotspot, a new travel restriction, and also at the end of the month, Germany, the government will decide again how to proceed with the rest of the world. Like, for example, India is a whole country a hotspot, or only parts of it, like Bangalore or whatever. And would be good if countries reopen, especially China. They liften the registrations, which is pretty good. And we hear rumors that at the end of the year, normal travelers, business travelers are able to go there again, which is very good for our industry.
It really is. I mean, and that from that point of view, again, we're running one of the sessions next week in the Full Forum is an mini immigration symposium, and it will be very interesting to hear, you know, how your industry is responding and how things are changing, because I think things are changing quite quickly, right?
Yeah, we see. I remember we talked about it in the beginning, in the very first interview, about this disruption, digitalization. This is what we see, what is now coming more and more. Also for us, we just got a new interface or direct digital connection with the immigration office in Berlin. Like, we are one of the first Euro members in Germany, or the first Euro member in Germany, having this connection with the immigration office in Berlin. And this enables us to submit applications, and we receive, like, within 3 working days, a reply for them and an appointment for interview. Usually you need to wait 3 months. So this is good that this is keeping up now. That this is becoming more and more common to have the digital interface.
But this is what's been so incredible to me about this, you know, the whole situation since this began. I've talked to, you know, yourself and other Euro members, the innovation, you know, the response, the fast response that you know, our members are taking to this in order to make things, you know, better in the long run is amazing. Congratulations. That's a very impressive project.
It is, and that's what I like, because I can call myself like still a millennial. But I like all those technical approaches, which helps us to get rid of the annoying stuff, like nobody likes to do, filling in forms all day. And we can concentrate more on the assignees, on the travelers, on the experts, and take them more on the hand, give them better consultation. And this is key, not filling in forms all day long.
Absolutely. We ran a session 2 weeks back on disruption and innovation, and that was one of the key themes that came out of that was, you know, cutting down on the administration is, you know, the best move forward in terms of controlling costs, in terms of improving efficiencies, all of that.
No, that's right. And that's, I think, still next year or the next 2 years, I guess the industry will change dramatically. And we see it nowadays that, like, huge immigration companies, they now buy tech startups just to be part of the game, to be in the tech scene and in the startup scene. This is amazing.
It is. I mean, out of great adversity comes great innovation, and that really is happening. So I'm impressed, incredibly impressed. It's really great to catch up with you, and we're going to be running a briefing on diversification. I'd like to talk to you about that when we finish this recording. But in the meantime, let's catch up again. Just before we go, I just wanted to ask, I mean, what is the sort of, what's the speculation like in Germany about the second wave? Is it expected? Is it starting? Have numbers increased?
The numbers, they're about 2,000 infections a day. Okay. But it's, for now, 2 or 3 weeks, doesn't really increase or decrease. It's still fine, and nobody is panicking. But nobody knows what will happen when the real winter or cold weather comes. And I don't know. I think everybody's just waiting what happens.
That's very interesting. Stable. That's very interesting. I mean, here we've seen a great rise, and I'm sure you know there's been increased lockdowns in the UK, and you know the rules have changed again this week. But it's interesting how no one knows whether this is because we've got better testing or whether there is more COVID.
Yeah, definitely. It's like in the Netherlands, like when that started, or in France, they tested like around like 10,000 tests a day, and now they have like 1 million tests a day. And of course, the numbers will increase then. But I think we all need to wait for some medicine or these injections.
The vaccines.
This will change the thing, or if also the virus changed at all and it's not so aggressive anymore, and then it's just like a flu.
Mad cold, exactly.
Nobody cares. Yeah.
Yeah. I did read a report this morning, actually, out of in the Washington Post about the mutating of the virus and it becoming less virulent. So fingers crossed. That's all we can do.
Definitely.
Listen, great to catch up. It is now, where are we now? We're at 24th of September. Let's catch up again sort of in November. Find out how you're doing then. That would be great.
Yeah, cool.
Good. Always a pleasure, Tobias. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for the opportunity. Very nice to talk. I hear back from the industry, hey, you're now a superstar.
Glad to hear it. That's great. Listen, fantastic to catch up. We'll catch up again in November. I look forward to it. Take care.
Perfect.